Okay, welcome guys. This is Jim Grisanzio from the. Oh, now we have an error here. We're just gonna assume that's streaming.
Right.
This is Jim Grisanzio from the Oracle Groundbreakers Live team, and I'm here with Amitpal Singh. Amit, nice.
Hi, Jim.
It's nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
And we just actually came out of the keynote hall. Well, actually, I was watching, but you were doing the keynote.
Right.
Amit. And you are the director of Oracle Labs for APAC and Japan.
That's right.
And you were talking about Graal, actually.
That's
right. Which is a very, very popular technology here.
Right.
So you did a couple of things that I wanted to actually follow up on. You
Sure.
actually gave some demos about 10 things to do with Graal, as well as some of the customers and organizations that are using it. And I also want to talk about some open source
Sure.
things as well.
Yes.
So just give me a little bit of a summary of the 10 sort of top things that developers are actually doing with Graal right now.
Great. Thanks, Jim. So one of the first things is the high performance Java applications that you can actually run GraalVM using a lot of these Java apps, and it gives you before and after high speed, essentially. And secondly, the instant startup time, right? That it gives you that the speed to which you can actually launch a lot of these applications. So we'll begin to see things like 4 to 5 times the speed for Scala, Ruby, and we can match up the rest of the languages pretty well also. The other things that we talked about at the demo included the polyglot example, where you could mix and match different types of languages that included Python, R, as well as JavaScript. We also looked at some of the specifics around creating native executables, native libraries for the Oracle database, so embeddings like that. And then also we looked at how you can instrument basically behavior of applications, look at the details behind performance metrics, and also look at insights like security specifically, and how to prevent attacks at the language virtualization layer. So these are some of the interesting things that we've been looking at, and it's a pretty big ecosystem, and it's growing rapidly. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, so you just specifically mentioned, things are moving very fast, and you talked about fast startup, right? So go over a couple of things, why Graal, you mentioned 3 or 4 or 5 things as opposed to, something else.
Right. So one of the first things would be obviously we want to try to reach, speed, performance, and security. But one of the biggest things is really the open ecosystem. That we have no boundaries within the language layer, and we feel that that's the layer that we can respond with speed and also accuracy. And our broad ecosystem within Oracle, and of course beyond Oracle, gives that ability for people to want to be able to go in, experiment, test with it, and give more contributions, things like that as well. So a large install base of languages we support, and our mission, our vision is to go beyond that and support more languages. And so the more workloads we can get in production workloads, and that even better, for us to respond accordingly. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Now, one of the things, so Graal, in terms of a technology that's actually released, it's fairly new. You guys have been working on it in the labs for quite a while, but in
Right.
terms of its release, it's just a year or two, right?
Right. The research project's been going on for several years. The community edition has been released as of last year, and we're going to be coming soon to the next enterprise edition. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is an open source technology.
That's right.
The repo's on GitHub.
That's right. Yes.
And is it just a mirror of Oracle's internal gate, or is the actual gate out there and people can contribute? And
Yeah, it's actually out there. So
Okay.
that's a great question, Jim. So it's out there. People can go in. They can, pull the GraalVM code, just like I did on the stage earlier. You can run it against your application, see the before, after effects of how much faster it is, startup times, mix and match different types of code. Yeah, so it's out there, and I would encourage more people to go out there, use it for your production apps, and give us the feedback, and we'll be there to support you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in terms of contributions, are people actually contributing at this point?
There is. It's an active contribution going on. Lots of commits, and we're looking for even more of that. So across the globe.
Great.
Right.
And you also mentioned this. It's some pretty interesting, well-known companies that are actually implementing Graal. You mentioned Twitter
Right.
and Goldman Sachs and
Right.
Disney. I
Disney
think, as
streaming
well.
services.
Now,
That's right.
one
yeah.
of them actually is creating their own language.
That's right. Yes.
So that was Disney or
It's Goldman Sachs.
Okay, Goldman Sachs.
Yeah. So they're actually using it and bringing their own language, which is the 10th challenge of the 10 things that you can do with Graal. So they got slang. They're using it for pricing and risk simulations and calculations. So they've shared quite a bit on their experiences with Graal, as well as Truffle, which is our language implementation layer and things like that.
Okay,
So, yeah.
great. And Twitter, we have one of the Twitter
That's right,
employees
yes.
here, Chris Dallinger. Actually, Chris will be here as well
Right.
for an interview
Yeah.
later on today.
That'll be
He's got
awesome.
a session as well.
Yes.
So,
They're one of the early adopters of Graal in
yes.
production.
Exactly.
So very excited to see him here, and I'm sure he'll get a first-hand experience.
cool.
Yes.
Well, Amitpal, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
and
Jim.
especially since you're losing your voice right now.
Right.
So we're going to let you stop.
Sure.
So
Thank you,
thanks
Jim.
a lot.
Thanks.
So the most important thing is github.com/.
GraalVM. GraalVM.
Okay, GraalVM. And thanks, guys, and we'll see you back here very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.